When the Ascent was announced in 2020, the game impressed with its beautiful visuals and comparisons to Diablo meets Cyberpunk came up. I was provided with a review code before launch, and so today we have a look on how the game turned out. Of course, completely spoiler free. We will discuss how innovative gameplay mechanics are and if the search for sweet loot is addictive or not. We have a look in how good the game actually looks and performs. We most certainly will discuss how much fun it is to blow things up and to become a powerful superhuman. So let's talk about the Ascent. Hello gamers from around the world, this is Archimedes, the video game enthusiast from Germany, with my spoiler-free review of The Ascent. And if you got any questions left after this video about the game, make sure to drop them in the comments below and I do what I can to answer them. But before we talk about The Ascent, you should treat yourself and set your player to full 4K 60 FPS to get the best audio-visual experience I can deliver to you and to see just how gorgeous that game actually looks. And while you are at it, please consider to also hit the like and subscribe button and maybe even turn on the notification bell to not miss out on future content, because in case you enjoy yourself while watching this video, I would greatly appreciate your support. But now let's dive into The Ascent, and I want to start by completely being transparent. I was provided with a review code for the game on Steam 2 weeks ago, and that's where I mainly played the game. The actual Xbox review code came only one day before I started this video, and so I only played a couple of hours on the Xbox version to see how it holds up, but I'll get to that later more in detail. So let's start with a short recap what the game actually is. The game was developed by Neon Giant, a small dev team that consists of 12 people. Of course, they had help in things like playtesting and so on, but the core team is only 12 people strong, and when you look at how good the Ascent looks from a technical standpoint, that's really impressive. The Ascent is a full-fledged action RPG/looter, and the comparison with Diablo set in a cyberpunk universe is definitely fair, but there is more to it. I played the entire game solo, but you can also play it local or online co-op with up to 4 players, but obviously I wasn't able to check that out because I played the game pre-launch. It is an Xbox ecosystem exclusive, so it will come out on the Xbox One consoles, the Xbox Series consoles, on PC via Windows 10 and Steam, and it's going to set you back $30 or euros or £25 respectively, and for that you get a good 15 to 20 hours worth of content depending on how much side stuff you are going to do. I'm not going to give away any of the story, but the premise is that you live on the planet Veles in a metropolis that is entirely owned by a corporation called the Ascent Group. You and everyone in your district is owned by that company, and one day suddenly there's a multitude of events happening and the Ascent Group shuts down for unknown reasons. And guess who suddenly needs to take up arms and take on the mission to find out what happened? But as you can imagine, just like in other action RPGs like Diablo, there is a story, but it's not the focus of the game. There's a certain lore in that universe and the story is told via very good looking in-engine cutscenes, but again the highlight of the game are the gameplay mechanics, and that brings me to the gameplay loop. As I said earlier, the Ascent is a full-fledged action RPG. You have full character customization. When you level up, you get certain skill points that can be distributed to certain attributes. You can customize your character with active and passive special abilities, you can level up your weapons and so on. And of course you are rewarded with a lot of loot. However, as the game continues, you will only find slightly better weapons. If you want more firepower, it's basically up to you to level up your weapons. So the loot process is more about finding the proper materials to increase the stats of your respective weapon. Of course, there are all kinds of weapons, from automated guns to handguns to shotguns to sniper rifles. There's everything in there to bring mayhem to your enemies, and depending on what kind of weapon you choose, it really changes up your playstyle. And that brings me to the combat system. Obviously, the game is played from an isometric perspective, although there is sometimes quite an interesting change of perspective when the camera moves in different positions in certain areas, mixing the look of the entire game up quite nicely. Nevertheless, it is an isometric game and it definitely is a twin stick shooter, but the developers added a quite interesting and unique element, and that is a cover system. Basically, the combat system works on 2 levels. When you stand tall, you can hit certain enemies that are also standing up, or you can crouch, and then you have another level where your shots will be able to hit enemies, and with that you can take cover behind all kind of obstacles in the world. And trust me, especially in the later game, you definitely need to make advantage of your surroundings clicks and take cover to survive in some crazy action. Only dodging and rolling won't help you. And if all hell breaks loose, you can use special abilities. There are a ton of different ones depending on your playstyle, but you can only assign 2 of those so-called augmentations to your character, and they can be really helpful when you find yourself surrounded by too many enemies. And with that, we should talk about the level and mission design. You have basically a certain main quest line, but you can also find throughout the world a lot of side quests. Those really help you to level up your character to be prepared, but the side mission design is more or less repetitive. You go to a certain area, kill a bunch of enemies, get your reward, come back to one of the hub areas, where you then find your vendors or cyberdogs to level up your character or weapon stats. But since the actual gameplay mechanics, the combat and the reward system are very satisfying, it was okay for me to not have a deep variety in the actual mission design. One thing I want to mention though is the difficulty of the boss fights that will occur when you follow the main quest line. The Ascent is not a particularly difficult game. Actually, sometimes I felt quite overpowered when I went into a main mission and I was like 5 levels above the recommended character level for that mission. So I plowed through the entire level easily and ended up with a boss where I thought I could easily beat the guy because I'm like 5 levels above him, and then had no chance at all. This is probably my biggest criticism with that game, because it was then a little bit frustrating to go back and increase your character level even further to have a chance. But let's move on and talk about the technical aspect of the Ascent. Like I said in the beginning, I played the entire game on PC, but since the console version does not support ray tracing, I turned ray tracing off to show you here footage that is similar to the Series X version. I only played like 3 to 4 hours on the Xbox Series X and it is very comparable, but let me tell you that from a technical point of view, the game runs very well. I was actually kind of surprised that in this pandemic-riddled world where we get a lot of bugged games, I didn't encounter in my entire playthrough any major issues whatsoever. And from a graphics point of view, the game is absolutely gorgeous. What Neon Giant did with the Unreal Engine 4 is truly stunning. There are a ton of lighting and particle effects happening on screen. The smoke effects look really good and the sheer density of NPCs on screen can be really impressive. In this scene here, for instance, when you walk into a train station and start shooting, the NPCs actually react to you and run away, and same goes for when you walk through the hub areas. You can listen in on conversations or just push people around, but basically everything in the world can react to you. It's the little details. Cameras, for instance, can follow you when they detect you, or sometimes there's just something crazy happening in the background. The world feels inhabited and I didn't expect that when I started the game. It's an absolutely gorgeous and technically very well designed game, and I was constantly in awe by just how much stuff is happening simultaneously on screen. It's impressive what a small team of 12 people can achieve if they set their mind to it, and I do hope that they will bring ray tracing to the console version in a future update, cause that really looks cool in that colorful world. The audio design is also very good. The weapon sounds and explosions pack a lot of punch. The music is pumping with electronic beats, and maybe here is a small wish from my side. I would have preferred a little bit more variety in the music choice, but I guess here comes a limitation of such a small development team. But with that, I already want to wrap it up. Is the Ascent worth your time? I can absolutely say yes. Not just does the game look incredible, the gameplay with the really well realized combat system is a lot of fun. The character progression and loot is rewarding. There's actually a lot of side stuff to do in the game, and I had a very good time in my playthrough. As I said, some of the boss fights can be a little bit frustrating, but I was glad that I powered through. And if you would ask me how I would score the game, I would probably give it an 8.7, and a definite recommendation for everyone who likes that genre. It's only a $30 or Euro game, and for all Game Pass subscriber it is included in the service, so no harm checking it out. But for now I'm going to sign off, play some more of the Xbox version, and I do hope that you did enjoy this video, and if you did so, please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And if you want to support the channel even further, you can become a channel member and get early access to my videos and custom made badges and emojis. And let me thank those who are already members. I'm truly humbled by your support. And now let me know in the comments down below, are you going to give the Ascent a try? Do you have any questions about the game? And besides here on YouTube, you can also hit me up on Twitter, where I share a lot of opinions and gaming discussions. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I see you the next time, and game on!